If you own the console edition of Rust, you're probably quite familiar with this map, because this map right here is the monthly wipe map. Whether you're playing on Xbox or PlayStation, every monthly server that you go into is probably running this map. And what we're going to be doing today is analyzing this map. We're going to be going over some different routes to run when you spawn in, how you should be running these monuments, and where you should be building your base. And this is going to be based on resource allocation. This is going to be based on how new you are to the game and your play style. So let's just jump into it because I don't like a long intro. The way this is going to work is when you spawn, you're going to spawn on a place called Newbie Beach. That's going to be sort of in here, or in here. Now, Newbie Beach is crowded with newbies. It's really annoying, but before you completely leave it, there's some monuments that you should probably go to right away. And I'd recommend going here, 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 or here. So this is Harbor. These two are Harbor. This is the gas station, and this is the lighthouse. Now, two of these monuments are better than the other two. These two are best, the gas station and the lighthouse. And this is because you can find the green key card here. So what you're going to want to do when you're going to these monuments or when you're in these monuments is open all the boxes you can find. And you can also find boxes along roads and sort of by electrical poles. So keep an eye out for those as you're running to the monuments. But find some boxes and open any barrels that you can find. Opening barrels makes a lot of noise, and it's generally not something that's recommended, especially if you've only got a rock. But starting out, you don't really have that much to lose. So bang open some barrels, and what's going to happen is in 5 to 10 barrels, you're probably going to loot tarp or a sewing kit or a sewing string or whatever it's called. And what you can do with this is now if you go to these two monuments or Harbor or any monument, you can recycle that. Once you recycle this, you're going to have a lot of cloth. Once you've got a lot of cloth, you can go bang on a tree, get 200 wood, and now you can craft a bow. Bang on a tree a little bit more, find some stone, and now you've got arrows. So usually the hardest thing to find when you're going to create a bow is the cloth. And if you just bang on some barrels or run some monuments right off the bat, you're going to negate this. You're going to be able to right off the bat just get into the game with a bow and arrow. And this is best because now you can actually defend yourself. It's super easy to do. And in addition to this, when you're running to these monuments, you can pick up hemp, and sometimes you'll get lucky and be able to find enough of that you can just go in with the bow and arrow. But no matter what, you should probably still go to these monuments because you can pick up a green key card. Once you've picked up your green key card, what you're going to want to do is you can run a blue key card monument. Now, this would be Harbor. So this is one of the reasons I said you might want to skip Harbor, because green key card monument. So Harbor is one of them. Satellite dish over here is one, and the sewer way up here is another. Now, when you spawn in, probably the best ones to run are going to be either the harbors if they're on your way, or ideally the satellite dish. Now, the reason behind this is right here, this outpost and this airfield. So the airfield, you're going to need a green key card and a blue key card to run. You're also going to need 2 fuses. So remember that for the harbor and the sewer, or the satellite dish, which I just clicked, you're going to need 1 fuse. When you use a fuse, you can actually go back and pull it out of wherever you used it. So remember that too, because you can always double back, especially at satellite dish or harbor, and grab the fuses and go with that. Now, the way it's going to work is the sewer is actually the one that has the most loot. So if you're looking for the most loot with a green key card, sewer is where you want to go. But it's so far away, it's almost not making the trip unless a few certain scenarios apply. The harbor and the satellite dish are generally good enough. So run these monuments, swipe your green key card, use your fuse, get your blue key card. So now I'm going to assume you've got your blue key card, you've run both these monuments, maybe you've opened some boxes, head to Outpost. What you want to be doing is Outpost is your central spot where you're going to be recycling everything because of the location of all these monuments. When you go to the Outpost, you can recycle everything that you got at Harbor and at satellite dish, and anything additionally that you looted at lighthouse or the gas station. And the reason I recommend doing this and not using recyclers out in the wild is because when you go into a recycler and you're moving materials, your character can't move. In the PC version of Rust, you can move around, right? In the console version, you can't. So anytime you open up an inventory, you're putting yourself at a huge risk. And a recycler is a static thing. Everybody knows where it's at. So I've noticed a lot of people are camping the recycler. So the only way to negate this is to only recycle when you go to a safe zone. And that's going to be bandit camp, or that is going to be the outpost. And the outpost is ideal right now for the stage that you're at. So you're at outpost, you've recycled everything. Now what you should be looking at is hopefully you've got 2 fuses and a green key card and a blue key card. At this point, you could make a base, you could do that. But if you're really looking to snowball, what you're going to want to do is go from outpost right to the airfield. Don't bother with these hangars here. Don't bother with the towers or anything like that. Go right in here activate the monument. You go right here, you drop down, and then you swipe your green key card, go through that monument's green key card zone, and then after that, what you're going to want to do is go through the blue key card zone. So if you run through the blue key card zone properly, you should be able to get a red card. There's like 9 boxes there. At this point, you're pretty stacked, right? And assuming, again, you haven't really damaged anyone, you can go back to the outpost. So now you run back to the outpost. And what you're going to do at the outpost is you're going to recycle everything that you got at airfield. And now you're probably like 30 minutes to 40 minutes into logging into the game. And you're saying, Serial, I haven't built a base yet. At any point during this process, you can sort of branch off and build a base. Don't feel like you've got to run this every time. This is just sort of a good starting point to getting into just how to really play this game and use this map. So now you're back at the outpost, right? You recycle everything, and at this point, hopefully what you've got is something like maybe 250 to 300 to 400 scrap, especially if you ran it like this, right? If you ran gas station, harbor, let's say, and then from harbor, you ran all the way to the outpost, recycled everything. Maybe you ran to satellite dish just to do it, and then you run to airfield again. That's a path that's going to get you quite a bit of loot. And with all that loot, you're going to be able to recycle it and get a lot of scrap, a lot of metal fragments, a lot of everything, right? But the scrap's really important because what you can do with the scrap is you can run over here to this vending machine. And, you know, there's videos that show it. I've got videos that show it. Feel free to look them up. You run back behind this vending machine, and now you can get I think it's a revolver or a double-barreled shotgun. The double-barrel shotgun is going to blow people away, okay? And the nice thing about the double-barreled shotgun is it takes handmade shells. So you're saying, Serial, how does this work? I don't have any gunpowder. So what you do now, you run over here. There's going to be a T1 workbench at Outpost. You can craft the Ioka. You can open it up. You can take the shotgun shells out of that, and then you can basically go to the recycler, recycle the Ioka, and now you've gotten a bunch of shells. With a double-barreled shotgun, they generally blow people away, and if you're getting into any sort of long-term conflict with a double-barreled shotgun, you're screwed because you're probably fighting someone that's got more of a ranged weapon, and you really can't do much with that. Double-barreled, that's good for sneaking up on people, taking the shot, and getting out of there. So you make some shells. Now maybe you've got 6 to 8 shells because, again, you've been running these monuments, and in addition to the scrap that you're going to be getting some wood, and you're going to be probably getting a lot of metal fragments, which can be used to craft Iokas. So now that you've done all of this, you've probably got like 6 to 8 shells on you. You've got your double-barreled shotgun. You've got a ton of loot. You're good to go. At this point, you can sort of defend yourself. You can take your own. And in addition to this, let's say you've got a base. You can also go back and you can do a blueprint right here. So you can research that shotgun. And now if your base is like way up here, you can make that shotgun at your base. So that's just how you get your first gun and how sort of I'd spawn into every server. And honestly, usually within an hour, I've got myself to a point where I've got at least one good gun, which is like a double-barreled or something like that. And if I'm lucky enough when I'm running these monuments, I'll get a gun or two at that. So that's generally how you want to run the monuments, how you want to approach everything. When it comes to sort of lesser visited monuments, up here you've got Sewer Branch. That one you can use a green key card. You're going to get a blue key card, but Sewer Branch has a ton of loot. So that's actually a really good one for new players to run. It's a little bit more distance. It's a little bit harder to get to, but it might be worth the trip because you're not going to have to deal with a lot of other players. Generally what I find is when you're running these right down here, what you're dealing with is you're dealing with newbies. You're dealing with new players. You're dealing with all those naked spawn people. But once you get out of this, satellite dish is pretty empty, so you might be okay here. Airfield, though, this is where you're going to find some sort of mid to high-level players. They're going to have some guns, and it's just a little bit harder to run. When you're running airfield, be careful, and if you really don't want to lose anything, it's probably time to set up your base before you run airfield. Once you run airfield, if you're lucky, what you can do is you can run up to launch site and give that a go. This is the only red card monument on the map, and if you want to be a high-level player, this is how you do it. You run launch site. The problem with this is because that's the place you've got to go to be a high-level player, all the high-level players are there. So if you're not prepared for that, if you feel horrible about yourself when you get blown away by someone who's just a ton better than you, you might want to avoid launch site. It's definitely worth the experience. I'd say it's worth going there. There's a Bradley tank that roams around. That's decently easy to take out. But again, high-level players are going to be here. It's sort of the one point that they can all congregate at. So you just tend to find a ton of them there. So that's the monuments. And in addition to this, one other route that you can run, you've got Lighthouse up here. That does have a green key card. So you can go way up here to Lighthouse, drop a sleeping bag somewhere around here, and then what you're going to do, you run Lighthouse, get your green key card, run up to Sewer Branch. That's a little bit lower stress, lower hassle monument run, and that's probably going to be a little bit easier for you. And also, in addition to that, if you've got a hazmat suit, you can run Dome, or if you've got clothing, you can run Dome. There is a lot of radiation here, but you can run Dome, get some good gear. That's one of the ones that's recommended for a lot of new players, especially if you don't have any key cards or don't want to run any puzzles. All right, so now we've sort of gone over all the monuments. Also, I guess there's Bandit Camp. That's a safe zone. It's right by launch site. So this is sort of a good safe point to run to if you're from launch sites. You can launch from Bandit Camp, run right into the launch site, get your loot, and run back. What I like to do with the safe zones is I can use them as a place to collect myself. So let's say I've got a base way over here. If I'm running launch site, maybe I took down the Bradley, made a lot of noise, or some firefight that happened. You can run back to the Bandit Camp. You can gamble some scrap or do whatever you're going to do there. Recycle some stuff if you want to do that. And then from there, you can go to your base. But those safe zones are always good. And like I said before, the outpost and the Bandit Camp are really good for recycling. Now, when it comes to building, where do you want to build? So Bandit Camp and Outpost are two sort of easy ones to build at. The reason behind that is they're right by a safe zone. It's an easy run to a recycler. And honestly, if you're sort of a high-level player, building right in here, if you can, is really good because you're going to have a crazy base in here. And from here, you can pretty much just run this trifecta, right? You can literally just run a loop where you exit your base, run satellite dish, exit satellite dish, run airfield, exit airfield, outpost, recycle, back to your base. You can run that super fast. Everybody knows this though. So generally what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of bigger players here. A lot of clans like to go on the water, by the way, but you're going to get a lot of bigger players here. And in addition to those bigger players, what you're going to get is people raiding all these bases because these bases are probably packed with loot. If you're looking for a lot of loot, you look around here and you look around the launch site. You look around the high loot monuments. Now, if you're a higher level player, I don't know why you've watched this video. You're 12 minutes in, honestly, and I haven't told you anything that you should be learning. You should be hitting the dislike button and leaving. And by the way, I use the like to dislike ratio to tell if my video is worthwhile to people. So if this video is helping you, hit like. If it's not helping you, hit dislike. And the reasoning behind that is if a pro level player comes and they see like 10% dislikes, they can probably figure they're in the 10% that knows everything. If a new player comes and they see 90% likes, they're probably one of the people that could learn from this video. So hit like and dislike based on whether you're learning anything from this. And hopefully that'll help people and make sure they don't waste their time. Also, that's how you should be viewing all my videos. I ask everybody to do this. All my subscribers know that this is how it works. So, take that with whatever grain of salt you want. But yeah, launch site is where you're going to have a lot of higher level players too. So again, launch site, there's going to be a lot of clan bases here. Sort of in this area, there'll be a lot of clan bases, and you'll probably find someone sort of around the airfield. So that's where all the big players go. Now, if you've looked at what I've just drawn, where would you go if you're a new player? If you're on a server where you're worried about getting killed, there's probably a lot of people running around Bandit Camp and Outpost trying to kill you. So if you're super new, what you're probably going to want to do is build sort of up here, or even like up here. Now, the reason for this is cold areas. What happens is when it gets too cold at night, cold areas do damage to you when you're running around. So if you're up in these areas, you've got to make sure that you're always clothed. And in addition to this, you've got to make sure that you've got fires and stuff like that to keep yourself warm at night so you don't die. So that is a hump that you've got to get over, right? That's something that's annoying. But the nice thing about this is a lot of players don't roam in these areas because it is annoying to roam them there because you can die from cold. And in addition to that, a lot of players won't bother going up here because all the good monuments are sort of under this line. So, a high-end clan, like right here, this is a vending machine, just random clan vending machine. They might want to put their base in here because you got launch site, you got airfield, a lot of stuff that they can easily get to. If you're way up here, running down to airfield, running down to launch site is really annoying. Here, it's not as annoying, but it's still not great. So you can see what I'm saying. You want to build yourself away from the high-level monuments. If you don't want a lot of conflict, you don't want a lot of fights, and for the love of God, avoid Newbie Beach. Newbie Beach is just a horrible location. It's filled with chaos and people throwing rocks, literal rocks, and it's just annoying. If you're a really new player, this is sort of a good area too. Now, it's not the cold, so you're probably going to have more people there. But like I said before, you can run this lighthouse to Sewer Branch. But most ideally, the way I like to do it is I'd put my base sort of in here around Sewer Branch, or even like up here. Now, there will still be some clans, there will still be some bigger players going there, but they're going to frequent it less, so there's less of a chance that you'll get attacked and less of a chance that you're going to get raided. Also, a lot of the big clan bases, if they're way over here, they might not want to even bother carrying C4 or whatever explosives or rockets they're going to use all the way up here. So that might be where you want to build your base. And now, one thing I've got to say here, none of this is going to keep you from getting raided. If someone wants to raid you, they're going to raid you. And the farther you get into the wipe, the less value any of this stuff has. Generally, the value of something, when you get to even like a couple days into a wipe, it's dictated purely by how much sulfur it takes to create, because everybody hates mining sulfur because you've got to refine that to get gunpowder, combine it with charcoal. It takes a little bit of time to do. And for explosives and rockets, that actually adds up. So everybody hates to use it. So the more it looks like it's out of the way, the more risking of sulfur you're doing, the less likely people are going to want to go. Now, if you've decided as a solo player that you're going to build some massive compound up here, someone might try and raid you because it looks enticing. If you've built just a bunch of like little bases, they might not want to do anything with you. So if you build like a little base here, little base here, little base here, you'll probably be a little bit more okay. Or if you just built one base up here, you still might be okay because it's one base in the middle of nowhere and it's in the cold. If you're looking for stone, good place to go for stone. Mountains, cold areas are perfect for that. So you've got some mountains over here, got something over here. You can see where I'm getting at. There's going to be a lot of stone, but these are sort of the key locations that you're going to want to find stone. If you build your base right in here, it's going to be hard to find stone. Over here, you'll be able to find it because you can see there are some mountainous regions, but it'll be a little bit harder. If you build it way up in these mountains I just circled, you're going to find all this stone over there. One of the less hassle-free locations to build your base. Yeah, so next up, if you want to plant or if you want to find food, generally people are planting food all over, but maybe later this is going to help. Go to the rivers. This is where you're going to find corn. This is where you're going to find some hemp, and this is where you're going to find pumpkins. In addition to that, one nice thing is if you build by a road, you can always run around the road and find barrels and boxes to open up. It's not as good as running a monument, but if your server is super crowded, that's where you're going to want to go. And again, like if you put something up here, there's a road right here. There's probably not a lot of people on it. You might be able to get running that without too much hassle. If you got a base up here, mining outpost is actually a pretty decent area to go if you're looking to just get some ore and get back. You can probably find maybe like 50 to like 150 scrap if you just run mining outposts and no one's there. You got your lighthouse right here. You can run to that. And then sewer branch, that's the one green monument you'll probably be doing. You can run there. It is going to be hard to get recyclers and people might be camping it. If I had a base out here, I'd probably use a lighthouse recycler because it's a little bit harder to get the lighthouse recycler. And if you have a team, you can have one person watch the door while you go in and recycle. Whereas a mining outpost, it's a little bit harder to control. That's another thing to take into consideration, how you can control a monument. Lighthouse, you can do that with two players. A duo, you got one person watching the door, one person at the recycler. With sewer, if you want to watch both your sort of entry points to that monument, if you run the green card part of it, so there's two recyclers at sewer. One's inside of the green card sort of swipe area and one's outside of it. I'd ideally say get into the green card area and use that recycler. If you want to run this, you need two players to watch the doors, one player to recycle. Ideally, of course. I do have a video on sewer where you can see sort of choke points and things like that you can use. It's a really easy monument to secure. So 3 players, you're going to be great there. Harbor, anything like that is just complete chaos. But, lighthouse, those are 2 very easy ones to control. Airfield's got 1 entry point to that green keycard monument. So that one, again, you can run it with a duo, but the problem is getting in there is a little hard. It's a little risky, right? But that's sort of the game of Rust. You're risking your happiness in hopes of getting more happiness. And happiness in this case is guns and explosives. We're not gonna go there. But yeah, that's generally how I overview the Rust map and how you'd want to use it. If you are out here, another nice thing that you can do is you can take a boat out into the water and find a lot of scrap that way. So if you're really having a hard time with the monuments and you build somewhere like here, hopefully no one's gonna be there. You can take a boat out, run sort of around the map, and mine a ton of scrap by just breaking open barrels and boxes. So that's always another option that you've got. But ideally, yeah, if you're a new player, somewhere in here is probably a good place to build that no one's going to come to. Like I said, worry about the cold. Watch out for it. I think that's all the tips I've got for you guys today. Oh, I said I was going to cover this. If you're a clan, if you've got a huge amount of people, clans, take launch site, right? You can take airfield too. What you don't want to do, and I'm just going to tell you guys right off the bat, don't build right here. Don't build right here. Leave this for the new players. Let the new players, let the people that are solos get in here, play this, let the duos do it. Let people get some more experience. If you're a more experienced player, if you got a bigger team, just run launch site. Keep yourself with all the other more experienced sort of team-based players. Run those. You're going to get some nice objectives. You're going to have some good battles and everything like that. But what you're not going to be doing is just killing nakeds on the beach, which sort of sucks. Not for, well, actually, no, it sucks for everyone. It sucks for you because you're not getting good loot and you're just being a sucky person. And it sucks for the nakeds because they're getting killed and they can't even get a good spawn in the game. That's why a lot of people are watching this video, because people are being dicks on the beach. What else is there for me to say? I think there's one other mining outpost here. What I found is there's a lot of people that run that one, so it's usually empty and it's not too worth it. So I think the route that I outlined for you guys is going to be a pretty good way to play the game. That entryway is going to be a pretty good way to enter into the game, enter into the combat aspect of it. Again, you get that bow and arrow first, then you run your monuments. You can guarantee yourself a DB or a pistol, and from there you can go create your base. And like I said, where you want to create your base is going to depend on you. If you're looking for the ideal mid-level range, like mid-level play, airfield and satellite dish are the two best ones to be in. You've got harbor right here. So like anywhere in here is a really good place for your base because, again, you can run airfield, back to your base, drop things off, satellite dish, back to your base, drop things off, airfield, and then back to your base, drop things off. And you can see that's sort of low amount of distance that you've got to travel, pretty easy, but a lot of people know about that, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of bullshit. And, again, you can run to outposts pretty easily too. Outposts you want to be running at night. Also, if you're a solo player, make sure you use locks instead of code locks. If you're using locks, people know you're a solo player because generally people don't hand out keys to locks. They use code locks if they're duos, trios, whatever. And solo players tend to have more loot or less loot. So the way you want to do it is make sure people know that base is owned by a solo player because they are less likely to raid it. So as you can see, I'm already mispronouncing this. And this video is 22 minutes long, which is ridiculous. If you've made it this far, I thank you. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Hopefully this doesn't feel like I wasted your time. Hopefully you learned something. If you like this, you can always request I do other maps, but my goal here really is to get you guys into analyzing these maps, figuring out where to build, figuring out how to play the game, and I don't need to make these videos and you can just figure everything out because there's plenty of stuff for me to talk about and I look forward to talking about it in the future. So like always, you can hit subscribe, you can hit like if you're interested. If you look down in the description, there's a Discord, there's a Twitter, there's a Twitch. Those are different ways that you can get in contact with me and interact with me, but YouTube's always best. Anyways, thank you so much for watching it. I really do appreciate it. You guys have shown some amazing support for me, and hopefully I'm at least trying to return it through these videos and talking in comments and everything like that, but I don't think I'm doing you guys justice. Thank you, and until next time, peace.